This is me, lean, disciplined and ready for my bodybuilding competition, and this is also me just a few weeks later after binge eating. Looks like a completely different person, right? This is something I'd never shared before, not even with my family, but today I want to tell you my story. Back in 2021, I competed in a bodybuilding show. I went through months of calorie deficit and constant hunger. It was exhausting. After the competition, I told myself I deserve a break, so I ate pizza, burgers and ice cream, pretty much every tasty food you can imagine. At first, it felt great, like I was celebrating all my hard work. But after that week, I tried to go back to my normal diet, but I couldn't. My stomach was painfully full, but my mouth just wouldn't stop eating. Every night I told myself I would stop eating tomorrow, but tomorrow I would binge again. Just in 2 months, I gained 15 kilograms. Over the next 8 months, I gained another 10 kilograms. My confidence was low, my skin looked terrible, and my gym performance was awful. I couldn't even look in the mirror because I felt guilty and shameful every time I see myself. Then one day I decided to play handball with some old friends that I hadn't seen in a while. The first thing they said was, "Wow, you gained so much weight. How much do you weigh now?" I answered them, but deep down I was devastated. On the court, I couldn't last 5 minutes because I struggled to catch my breath. I couldn't jump, I couldn't shoot. I was so frustrated because handball was something I used to be really good at. That hit me hard, really hard. I just felt worthless. After the game, I went home and took a shower. I remember standing there for half an hour, completely tired, physically and mentally. I looked down at my belly and I missed the old me, fit, confident and full of energy. Then I finished the shower and looked in the mirror and thought, I had to take my life back. If you're new here, I'm Steven, a nutritionist from HKU and a current physio student. By the end of this video, you will know what is binge eating, the cause of binge eating, how binge eating affects your body, how I stop binge eating with science-backed strategies. Let's start with the basics. What is binge eating? Binge eating is when someone eats unusually large amounts of food in a short period of time. It feels like they just can't stop themselves from eating. We all overeat sometimes, but binge eating is not the same as overeating in a buffet or a holiday meal. The key differences lies in the loss of control and the emotional stress that comes with it. After binge eating, it's common to feel guilty, shamed, or disgust with yourself. And it's not just an occasional thing, it can become a repeated pattern. When binge eating happens at least once a week for 3 months and start affecting your daily life, it may be diagnosed as a binge eating disorder. According to DSM-5, binge eating disorder isn't just about eating too much. This episode comes with specific behaviors, and at least 3 of the following must be present. First, you eat so quickly that you barely taste the food. Second, you are eating past the point where you feel super uncomfortable. Third, you eat even when you are not physically hungry, but instead you are driven by impulse or emotions. Fourth, you are rather eat alone because you feel embarrassed about how much you are eating. You feel awful after eating. You feel guilty, ashamed, or even disgusted with yourself. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Binge eating is far more common than most people realize and is nothing to be ashamed of. So, what causes binge eating? It's rarely just one thing to trigger binge eating. Instead, it's a mix of psychological, biological, and environmental factors. Psychologically, emotional triggers like stress, anxiety, or depression often plays a big role. For many people, binge eating becomes a way to cope with those overwhelming emotions. Negative body image can also drive binge eating, especially when someone struggles to accept how they look and use foods as comfort. Biologically, when serotonin or leptin levels, which is the hormone that regulates mood and hunger, are low, the body can trigger binge eating episodes as a response. During a binge, the brain will release the dopamine, the feel-good chemical. It will create a reward loop. This makes the behavior feel satisfying in the moment, but it will reinforce the urge to binge eating later. Environmentally, when you walk into a supermarket, there is many calorie-dense, high-processed foods, and it makes it all too easy to eat them. But these are just a few examples, and everyone's story is different, and the reason behind binge eating can vary so much from person to person. For me, it all started after months of extreme dieting during my bodybuilding prep. I was hungry all the time, stressed out, and laser focused on how I looked in the mirror. I couldn't stop comparing myself to other competitors, and I wanted to win so badly. Once the competition ended, all that built up stress and hunger caught up with me, and it felt like I couldn't stop eating. Before we dive deeper, let's clear up a common misconceptions. Many people confuse binge eating with other eating disorders like bulimia. Bulimia nervosa involves binge eating, followed by undue behaviors like vomiting or excessive exercise to undo the food they eat. Bulimia are more dangerous than binge eating, so it requires immediate and intensive medical and psychological care. By the way, I send out a weekly newsletter to share tips on nutrition, training, and injury prevention. It is easy to read and simple to apply in real life. My goal is to help you focus on just one habit or one behavior each week, because I believe that one small change every week can make your life so much better. I will put the link in the description, feel free to sign up. Let's get back. Now let me share how I overcome binge eating and what strategies that work for me. The first thing I did was change my environment. This idea came from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. The concept is simple: remove the triggers that make it easy to binge, add friction to the bad habit. For me, that means keeping fewer binge foods at home, like chips and ice cream. If I could see them every day, I would be far more likely to eat them. If I need to put certain food in my house, I will store them in the box, so I will have to take extra step to open up. And this small inconvenience make me think twice before eating them. I also started using smaller plates for my dinner, lunch, and breakfast. It might sound silly, but seeing a smaller plate full of food can trick my brain into feeling more satisfied. And if I want a second plate, I will have to walk back to the kitchen to refill. Add another layer of friction. This small adjustment might not seem like much, but over time they made a big difference in helping me eat more mindfully. Another turning point for me came from another book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. The book taught me to be proactive and take full responsibility for my choices. I'm not able to change the past, but I'm the only one who can shape the future by acting differently in the present. One idea from the book that really stuck with me was between the stimulus and the response is our greatest power. This means we have the freedom to choose how we respond to stimulus. For example, when I want to binge, I realized I could pause and decide what to do next. I could meditate, exercise, or even eat what I wanted, as long as I accept the consequences. Just knowing I had the power helped me feel less helpless and more in control of my actions. I also work on reframing the way I thought about hunger. I used to see hunger as a discomfort, something need to fight against. But then I start seeing hunger differently. Instead of thinking, I'm starving, I need to eat right now, I told myself, this is my body's ways of regenerating and rebuilding. It means I'm getting closer to my goal. This small mindset shift make hunger feel less urgent and less overwhelming. I stop fearing hunger and start embracing hunger as a normal part of the process. Another important step in my recovery was improving my relationship with my body. Research shows that focusing on body appreciation rather than constantly comparing yourself to others can reduce disordered eating behaviors. I stopped comparing myself to people on social media and reminded myself that it's okay not to be stage lean all the time. That kind of physique isn't realistic for everyday life, and that's perfectly fine. As long as I'm eating healthy, building muscles, I'm doing great. Also, I reminded myself that if I want a six-pack, I could always work toward them later. No matter what shape my body is, accepting and even loving my body make the recovery process so much easier. It frees me from the guilt and disappointment that used to trigger my binge eating. Lastly, I want to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT is one of the most effective treatments for binge eating. It focuses on changing the negative thought patterns that drive the behavior. For example, after eating a snack, I might think, I've already messed up today, so I might just keep eating because I already failed. But CBT helped me reframe the situation as one small mistake doesn't mean I've failed. Personally, I didn't work with a therapist or a doctor, but if you've been struggling with binge eating for a long time, I would highly recommend give it a try. A doctor or a therapist can guide you through the process and give you tools to break the cycle. Recovery from binge eating isn't easy and it's not something that happens overnight. These strategies worked for me, but it may not work for you because everyone's journey is different, and that's okay. The most important thing is take the first step and seek help if you are struggling. And remember, recovery is about progress, not perfection. Celebrate the small wins and don't rush to fix everything at once. If you are overcome binge eating but gain some weight in the process, don't stress about it. I know many people worry about face fat after gaining weight, so I've made a video about how to lose face fat and it might help you. Make sure to check it out and I will see you there.